This program is brought to you in part by SalCal Real Estate Connections. Welcome to Race in Action Today. We're here today to bring you the action from our favorite race venue, Lime Rock Park, the road racing center of the East. In the event today, the Ferrari Challenge, with its F458 and F430 cars, come to Lime Rock after a 5-year hiatus. And also, as an added feature, the Shell Historics will also be on hand. I think you better strap in and hold on tight. We're about to see what the Ferrari Challenge is all about and the people who make it happen. Tonight's show will be dedicated to the Shell Historics of all these great vintage Ferrari race cars. They are truly something special, and I think you're going to enjoy the show. Yes, we have Peter Giddings with us, who drives this absolutely gorgeous number 31. I'm not sure what it is, but I got a feeling you know a little bit about this car.
Just a little bit. It's a Scuderia Ferrari car, which is why we're here, and it's a Tipo C8C35 Alfa Romeo. And back then, Enzo Ferrari didn't make it as a driver with Alfa, but they let him run the team. So this was one of his first team cars, hence the prancing horse.
Now, what era, like time frame, we talking?
1935. This is a so-called Titan car built by Alfas to compete with the Mercedes and the auto unions. And this car was, and others like it, were driven by the great Tazio Nuvolari, probably the greatest driver of all time.
Absolutely. I'll tell you, the history behind this car is really something special. Now, where do you reside?
In a suitcase.
Yeah, you're on the road, huh?
That's right, on the road with this car and others.
So you follow the Shell Historics throughout the country?
Yes, and in the off-season here in America, I race in Australia and Asia.
Wow. So is it mostly vintage racing?
These days, yes, mostly historic racing. But make no mistake about it, this is just as much hard work as the newer stuff. Maybe even more so.
Oh, yeah. I'll tell you, my favorite event of the year is to come up here Labor Day weekend to the vintage event, and it's really special.
Yes, it is, and I've been invited back, and I'll see you there.
Absolutely. We look forward to it. I know we're going to have to catch you out on the racetrack, but I'm sure you're going to have some fun today.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Thanks a lot, Peter. You were great. As you could see, Peter really knew how to get this car around this racetrack. And I could certainly see his attraction to wanting to do this. I mean, that car just looked like a natural race car out there. Yes, we have Lauren Leibel with us, who owns this gorgeous number 11 Ferrari. Looks like a Daytona to me, but I think you probably know a little bit about this car.
Yeah, it is a Daytona. You're correct about that. It has an illustrious, very short history. Basically, it was an American entry, and it was the sister car to the Cannonball Gumball Rally car, that first one that Dan Gurney and Brock Yates won with that particular car. Same color, same livery. Kirk F. White was the promoter owner of the two cars. This was the first Ferrari that actually got hot rodded by an American group at Holman and Moody with Traco Engineering. And motors back then were about 460, 470 horse. They got it up to 600.
Wow.
David Hobbs drove it, put it on the pole at Sebring in '72, and the car was just an absolute rocket ship. But nobody thought that down the chain that the transaxle would be able to hold that kind of horsepower, and about 16 laps in, it just exploded, grenaded like a bomb.
Wow.
So then after that, the car got seized for non-payment of some bills, and then ended up with a series of owners, and then I found it in Japan a couple years ago, and here we are.
Well, I'll tell you, as far as Ferrari goes, I love these cars, these Daytonas. You know, they're so hard to come by. And so how did you get started vintage racing?
I started vintage racing with Bruce Canepa out on the West Coast. He introduced me to the Porsche 962, which is just an amazing car. Everybody knows the history and the pedigree of those cars. And from there, I then got a 289 Cobra, which I think is kind of my favorite, only because I think I drive it a little better than all the other cars. And then the Daytona fell into my lap through Bill Noon at Symbolic Motor Cars in San Diego. A great connection, and he basically forced me into this car, which I'm delighted that he did.
Oh yeah, this car's got a significant history, believe me.
Yeah, I mean, like the Paul Newman car, the red one, it has a big history mainly because of Paul Newman's involvement with the car. And there's some impressive, important Daytona cars from Europe. But as far as an American hot rod style of Ferrari, this is the car. And it's blue, which is unusual. It's all American livery with Coca-Cola and Marathon oil. And so Ferrari recently has had the car at the factory, because I raced it last year in the World Finale. And they were so impressed with what the Americans had done back in that period, because they'd never seen anything like it. Nobody had ever taken their cars and basically pulled a motor out and did it themselves their way. So it had like a NASCAR flavor to it back in '72, and they weren't, normally Ferrari politically gets a little upset at these kinds of things. They were so impressed, they actually phoned Lee Holman's son to get more information on the car, and we actually found out what the correct brakes were, and they're just going to be installed but for the next event. They were off a Ford GT40 of all things.
I wonder why they went to the blue color. Is there any specific, any reason for that?
I think it's just all to do with Kirk F. White. I think his cars later became the Sunoco Penske cars. He was along with that whole promotion. So if you remember, those special cars were all blue, the Camaros, the Ferrari 512. So I think it began with these cars. I'm not sure what Kirk did prior to this, but assuming this maybe was the first group of cars, it was blue, blue, and blue.
Yeah, that sounds, now it makes sense. Why? Because it is rare. You don't see them often. But I'll tell you, the car is gorgeous. You need to be commended. And we're going to have to take some footage of you out on the racetrack, and I'm sure you're going to have some fun here today.
Yeah, it's a great little track. It's a lot of fun. We got a nice, interesting, eclectic mix of cars. It's not a huge field, but we're kind of representing almost all the eras in terms of decades, and right up to what is the F40 LM is the last car to be allowed in right now under their ruling for historics. But of all the cars, I think this one has the most glorious sound.
Oh, absolutely. That V12 is music to my ears, let me tell you.
Yeah, it's the closest thing to rape of a motor that you can ever get at 8,000 RPMs.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot, Lauren. Wish you luck today, and I'm going to be keep my eye out for you.
Okay. Keep your ear out for me. That's
okay.
better. Thanks very much for the support. Bye.
Lauren was right at home driving this Ferrari Daytona, and boy, it sure looked good out on the racetrack. I would just love to have an opportunity to drive this car. It just brings me back to being a kid again, and it really looked good out there. Yes, we have Peter Greenfield with us, who owns this absolutely gorgeous race car. I think you probably know a little bit more about this car than I do. Now, what is this car, Peter?
It's a 1935 Alfa Romeo. They were built back when Enzo Ferrari ran the Alfa race team, which is why it has the Alfa, the Ferrari signature on it.
Yeah.
And they were. This particular car was the first Alfa that they built with independent suspension, transaxle, and it has a 3.8 liter straight 8 double overhead cam. Makes about almost 400 horsepower.
You know, when you think back, I mean, for the time frame, 1935, I mean, that was pretty high tech.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was actually when Hitler financed the Mercedes and the auto unions to dominate world racing, this was the Italians' answer to that. You know, they had previous to Hitler doing, financing them, Alphas basically ruled the world, for racing, And then he said, no, we're going to change that. So that's what happened.
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, the history with Ferrari is really something special, I'm sure. Now, I'll tell you, how'd you get involved in vintage racing?
Well, I've been racing. I've been here at Lime Rock since 1977. You know, I started back here. I did Formula Atlantic, Formula Fords, and as you mature, you know, you get into.
That's a good word. I like that.
You like that? Huh? Yeah, you get into the older cars, and then and it's we have, you know, we're all buddies, and we all have know each other and have fun. You know,
It's all about fun. That's what it's
exactly.
about.
That's what it's about. It's about fun. You know.
You know,
We don't
and
take it serious, you know, too seriously. We take it seriously, but not that seriously, you know.
now, do you go to the other Shell historic races in the country?
Well, the problem we have is that we used to have much bigger fields when they were hooked up with Maserati, and we'd have a lot of Maseratis and more Ferraris. But Ferrari has this program they call the Classica program, and they insist that any of the Ferraris be certified with their program, and they let the pre-war Alfa Romeos in because they were Ferrari cars.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, he ran the team, and believe me, the rest is history.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, I mean, this is what he did,
Yeah.
and after the war, then he started Ferrari itself. Yeah.
Where are you from?
I'm from Freeport on Long Island.
Oh
South
yeah.
Shore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This time of the year, it's nice to be near the water, huh?
Oh yeah, it's amazing how much cooler it is right there. You know, it's
Yeah.
about 5 degrees cooler than it is in the middle of the island.
Pretty area too.
Yeah, yeah, nice. Yeah.
Well, Peter, we want to thank you for having a word with us, but I'm anxious to catch you out in that racetrack. I got a feeling that's where you're going to have your fun.
Yeah, you're right. Soon. Okay.
Yes, Peter was having fun with his the other Alfa Romeo that was there at the event, and they just drove nose to tail all day long, and really put on a great show. Yes, we have Michael Shine, who drives this absolutely gorgeous Ferrari number 40, and that must be an F40, I imagine, but tell me, it's got to be some fun driving this car.
Oh, it is. It's a blast. A lot of horsepower, low weight, and it's great on this track.
Yeah, this track, you know, is really a good track for nimble cars, and I got a feeling this car could get around here.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it got down to a 54-second lap, so it's quicker than the 458s are running, so I'm happy with that.
Wow, quicker than the 458s, huh?
Yeah.
Your mechanic here got to be happy about that.
Oh yeah, we just got done restoring this motor and car and everything, and it's performing right at the top level. I mean, we couldn't ask for a higher performance out of the car.
Now tell me, time frame, where would you put this car? You know, when it was.
This is a 1990 F40 LM, so it campaigned back in the very early 90s on tracks in Europe and the States.
Well, I'll tell you, they are certainly pretty cars, you know, and the color, man, that Ferrari red is just something special, you know. I think everybody dreams about driving a red Ferrari when you're a kid. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a lucky kid, so I got no complaints.
How'd you get started in doing this?
When I was younger, you know, I started here actually at like a Skip Barber, and then over time it just progressed.
So you just, you know, moved up
Exactly.
further and further. Any aspirations of going bigger?
We'll see. I mean, sky's the limit.
That's it. Yeah. Well, what do you think of that now, as far as taking this to a different level?
Well, Mike's a great driver here, so and he's so young. He's got so much in front of him to do. So I think you know, like he says, the sky's the limit on the car, the ability of his driving skills. He's yet to hit his peak potential yet.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it always amazes me when I ask people how they got started into this. You know, a lot of them come from go-karting, quarter midget racing, and that kind of thing. But I'll tell you, I think it's like a disease; it never leaves you.
No, it doesn't. You know, it's fun to go fast.
I mean, here I am thinking about getting a vintage license because these guys look like they just have too much fun.
We do. We have a great time out here. Good people, good friends. So
Now tell me, do you go to different parts of the country too?
Oh, without a doubt. We're just coming back from back-to-back weekends. We were just down in New Jersey running 4 days with the Rolex Series. We go back out to Watkins Glen at the end of the month. We're all up and down the East Coast, and you know, going even out to the West Coast. So yeah, we're all over.
Life is good.
It couldn't ask for anything better. When you're working with Ferraris, it's never boring, and you're always excited to wake up the next day and start over again.
Absolutely, I agree with you. Well, I want to thank you. You were excellent to talk to. I can't wait to get some footage of the car out on the racetrack, and I'm sure you're going to do well today.
I hope so. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You were great too. To say Michael has a great future in racing is really an understatement. He really knew how to drive that F40 around this racetrack. And boy, I'll tell you, he looked good all day long. Yes, we have Jack Thomas with us, who owns this absolutely gorgeous number 74 Ferrari. And I got a feeling, Jack, you know a little bit about this car.
I do indeed. It's a 1956 Ferrari 250 GT Buono. Buono was the bodybuilder for about 30 or so Ferraris.
Wow, this car is absolutely gorgeous. And how did you acquire this there?
I got it in Europe. I'm the first American owner, and I brought it over about 5 years ago. And I've taken it on a lot of long-distance touring events like the Colorado Grand, which is held every fall, and they have pre-1960 cars and tour all over Colorado, and right now it's my track car. It was primarily a GT car, but a lot of these 250 GTs were raced in the 50s in Europe.
Now, I mean, there can't be many of these cars around.
No, this is measured, only around 30 or so.
Yeah, I was going to say that, and it's a blue car, too, making it kind of rarer, too, right?
You know what? Everybody thinks every Ferrari's red. I guess this bucks the trend.
Now, tell me, Jack, where are you from?
St. Louis, Missouri.
Wow, yeah, you come here a little ways. Now, do you follow the Shell Historics?
Yeah, there are a number of us who race in the Shell Historics, and so far this year we've raced in Florida. We've raced out in California at Laguna Seca, and now we're here at Lime Rock.
Now, tell me, do you have a favorite track?
Oh, it's like asking which one of your kids is a favorite. They're all very special.
Oh, I bet. You must have been. Have you ever been to Road America?
I have. I've actually raced this car at Road America.
Wow. I'll tell you. I had a chance to drive a regular street car out there out on the racetrack. And how you guys remember where you are in that place is beyond me, because it's like 4 miles long just for one lap.
Well, we just concentrate a lot.
Yeah, I would think so. And with a car like this, you'd really be concentrating, I'm sure.
Well, since this is the oldest Ferrari out here today by over 20 years, I'm also looking in my rearview mirror a lot.
Well, we certainly want to thank you, Jack. You were very good talking and about the car. And we're going to take some footage of you out in that racetrack, and I know you're going to have some fun out there.
Well, that's the main thing. We're out here to have fun, and we really appreciate everybody turning out to come support us. And as I said, this is the oldest Ferrari here on the track today, and it's just great that people come by and appreciate it. It's been fun to talk to a lot of people in the pits, including yourself.
Well, we want to thank you. The car's gorgeous.
Thanks so much.
And you were great. This car was so pretty when I was looking at it. I said, well, I don't believe he'd really push it out in the racetrack. But let me tell you, that car was right at home in this Lime Rock track, and he really looked good racing it all day long. And, boy, I'll tell you, I have to give him a lot of credit. Every now and then when you're at one of these events, you come across a real ground pounder. Boy, let me tell you, this car fit that category. I just can't get over the engineering in this car. Was unbelievable. It was a factory race car from day one. And we're going to talk to Todd about this car. But boy, let me tell you, he really has to have a great time taking this car out on the racetrack. Yes, we have Todd Marichi with us with this beautiful #1 Ferrari. I don't know what it is, but I got a feeling you know a little bit about this car.
This is a 1981 Ferrari 512 BBLM. It's a purpose-built race car. It's a continuation of the Boxers that they built, the street version Boxers. These were purpose-built silhouette cars for Le Mans. This is a Series 2 car, which is it's the next to last car built. Series 2s were about 200 pounds lighter. The body's a little thinner. It was before carbon fiber, but just thinner fiberglass, and they lightened up the aluminum pins and the chassis a little bit and created just a little bit lighter of a race car to be more competitive.
Now, how many cars did they build like that?
22.
22, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, this car is absolutely gorgeous, I'll tell you.
Well, I've owned this car since 2002. This is my second one. This is 38181 is the serial number, and I own 35527, which ran at Le Mans twice. It was actually on the pole twice, and that car had an incredible history. I'm actually sorry I sold that one, but I wanted the lightweight, so
Yeah.
I ended up with a car that doesn't have the history that the other car has, but this car's a little faster.
Well, I'll tell you, standing on the gas pedal here got to be exciting.
It is. You know, you get about 165, 170 at the end of the straightaway, and then you just squeeze on the brakes. You don't slam them on; you squeeze them on. And it's it's a driver's car. You still got to stick here. You got to heel and toe with it. You got to be careful because if you downshift too quick, you don't bring the revs up. It gets loose. It's very hard to steer. You got a seating position. You have to be close to the steering wheel. Otherwise, it's very difficult to turn. You can't turn the car with your arms out here like this.
Now, how do you find Lime Rock compared to other places?
Oh, I love Lime Rock. This is my home track. I grew up around race cars. I drove here with my dad in 1975 in AC Bristol, and we drove the car up here, went to VSCCA racing school, raced around the track, and right before the last session of the day, he says, "We've had a good day. Let's just pack it up and go home," because he was afraid we were going to break the car.
I know, it's really amazing when you go back in the years. I used to drive a car to a racetrack and flat towing and that kind of thing.
Well, today it's a whole lot different. Today we bring semi-trucks and tents and caterers. You know, we're living large here.
Yeah, I was just talking with somebody a few trucks down, and he gave me an espresso.
There you go. That's the way we roll.
How good does that get?
Doesn't get better than that. That's the way we roll.
Well, Todd, we want to thank you for having a few words with us, and we're certainly going to take some footage of you out on that racetrack, and I have a feeling you're going to have some fun.
It's going to be a good race.
Absolutely. Great job. Every time Todd started this car, boy, there was a crowd. And believe me, he really must have a great time driving this car. It looks like it's about a half-inch off the ground. And believe me, it sounds like something you've never heard. Just a great race car. They had a couple of cars on display, and this 250 GT was just gorgeous. I couldn't help but really taking a real close look at it. I mean, the car was just restored to perfect condition. I can't even imagine what a car like this is worth at auction. And as we come to the conclusion of our show, I really want to thank everybody for watching the show and hope you enjoyed it as much as we have producing it. We just have such a great time coming up to Lime Rock and coming to these events year round. I mean, there's vintage events, there's Ferrari events, there's Porsche events. I mean, you name it. You really need to get up to this racetrack to see what it's all about. It is really something special. And I hope everybody gets a chance to watch our next event coming up, and believe me, you won't be disappointed. Tune in next week on Racing Action Today. This program is brought to you in part by SalCal Real Estate Connections. Thanks to the Race in Action Today crew, Dwayne Cody, Bill Majak, David Seidlinger, and Lisa Backus. And also we want to thank our home station, Nutmeg TV, for all their support and all the great things they do. We would like to thank PBF Pryor Brothers Fabricating in Berlin, Connecticut for all their support and all the great things they do back at their shop. And also, we want to thank Just Results Weight Loss Center in Bristol, Connecticut for all the great things they do back at their office and all that great support they give us. And last of all, we want to thank Accurate Automotive in Berlin, Connecticut for their support and all the great things they do back at their shop